There's most of the Iranians who can't afford food are not even visible, because not even visible to Iranians, because they're too poor to even be recorded. But we can actually see, based on data, that the I think last time I checked, like half of Iran is now below the poverty line. So when we talk about starvation, we're talking about calories. But malnutrition sometimes comes before starvation. So because of technology these days, low calories usually doesn't become an issue, because calories are easy to make. Malnutrition becomes a problem before starvation. Like, because of modern technology, calories are available everywhere. People can afford to get enough calories even if they're very, very poor. But what they don't get is that they don't get the proper nutrition, because they can't afford the food diversity. They can't afford fruits and meat and dairy. Even though they're eating stuff that fills them up, they're not getting the type of food that they're required to stay healthy. And malnutrition and lower health standards causes more death than evil, than even massacring people in the streets. The number of people who die because of health conditions, not having access to proper food, not having access to a good healthcare system, is higher than the number of people the Islamic Republic kills in the streets of Iran. The number of people who die from air pollution because of lack of management of Iran's, the type of oil, the type of fuel that they burn in Iran. The number of people who die from air pollution every year is higher than the number of people that Islamic Republic kills in Iran. The number of people who die in Iran because of car accidents, because of poor road conditions and low quality cars that the Islamic Republic produces, even those numbers are higher by themselves than the number of people that the Islamic Republic kills in the streets. So Iranian people are dying are being killed in so many other ways than just being shot in the streets. And low food quality is one of them.
Okay, next we have payment.
Hello again. What I wanted to mention, as I work in national security in Sweden, so one of the things that we received a lot of jamming and spoofing from Russia in the Scandinavian countries. Probably when I have problem with internet or GPS or this kind of things was because of them. I don't know. I really don't know, but it happened. And also, we
But
have
is this a question?
no, it's
Oh.
a information.
All right. So say this, payment, but from now on, we're gonna leave the questions after the recording section. But let me make your point. But from now on, after this, just remember this: the first section that we're recording, that we're leaving it for mostly for questions. But go on.
So I think that that's all. But I don't know what I have to do more. But one of the thing, Armin, what is your what what would you say to our Iranian people that actually, um, I was not here for 2 3 days, but
So let me know what your question is, Payman, and then we could talk about the context if you need after. So what's your question?
yeah, actually, I'm asking in this hard situation, what do you actually propose to
Okay.
Iranians to be stronger? Because
Oh,
Iranian regime, they started with a mental fight and these kind of things. So
right.
what we should do? Thank you.
Okay. So Iranians inside Iran or outside of Iran?
Inside and outside, both.
All right. So staying connected is very important, right? You get a lot of strength by supporting each other. So you need to have a fighter's mentality. Avoid people who are just like being sad and crying, and look for fighters who feel determined, that they're like look for soldiers and try to surround yourself with other soldiers. And also, if you see anybody who is like being depressed and crying, encourage them to surround themselves with other people who have a fighter's attitude. I feel like make you feel like you're in a war and that you're going to be victorious, and just surround, like, stay connected with those type of people. This actually makes sense for both inside people, Iranians inside Iran and outside of Iran. If you're feeling depressed, if you go find another person who's feeling depressed and he's crying and you're crying, and then you're just going to go down that, that's very destructive. You're just going to be feeding on each other's misery and making yourself get stuck in that hole even deeper, right? So if you're feeling like that, just go find like, just try to identify other people who feel like, who make you feel like the damage is natural, like this is a war and it's expected for us to pay a heavy price, and that they are not backing down. And you basically, their strength is infectious. Like you just feel like you want to be more like them just because you're surrounded by them, right? And try to create groups like that, and just communicate with them and talk to them, meet with them, and try to get inspired by them. So you know how they say you are the five people who you spend the most time with. So if you want strength, then surround yourself with people who seem to have strength, and I think that would be the most effective way to achieve that result. What do you think, Payman?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And the good thing, Payman, is that we have a lot of those people right now, right? A lot
Yeah,
of
actually,
Iranians are
we're
basically, yeah,
increasing. We are increasing,
yes.
and I'm so
Yeah,
happy.
good job, good job. And if, and by the way, thank you for everything you're doing. So you're being you're. I mean, now that we have all of these protests, for example, that Princess of Pahlavi is commanding us to go to, that's a really good way to, when you meet people there, right? Just identify the people that you resonate with the most, and try to remain connected with them, right? Try to find
Right.
those people, and don't feel like, oh, I met that cool guy in the protest and now you don't know who he is and never meet with him again, right? This is a really good opportunity for you to connect to people, exchange contact, and stay in touch with, and also maybe do projects with, like tell them like, guys, we met during the protest, what can we do? Try to come up with a mission, try to make groups of 3 or 5 people who see eye to eye with each other, and maybe beyond just going to maybe like, okay, see you in the next protest, just hold each other accountable to, maybe next time get on the bus with each other, like organize it with each other, like, guys, we're getting this bus to go to that protest, do it together as a team. But also in between the protests, come up with something to keep you busy, right? So let's say you have a group of 5 people who want to support the Iranian protests. So like, guys, what can we do to advertise the next one, right? So what can we do to, like, can we help with posters? Can we help with contacting other content creators with good audience and convince them to maybe show this poster on their show, right? Can we create a group of 3 or 5 people who goes and fact checks people on X and immediately call out their BS on X as soon as they post something that is retarded, right? That's a very effective strategy when it comes to fighting information warfare. Even if you don't have a big following, this is very effective. If you are one of the first people who comments under someone's post, even if you don't have a following, those first few posts might get more likes just because they were there first, right? So somebody significant post something anti Pahlavi or pro MEK or some other bullshit. If you're ready for them and you just go there and immediately point out why this is, they're full of shit, even without, even with like five, like 0 followers, because you're one of the first few posts there, when people click on that, the first people who see that post, they check the comments. Like many people, as soon as they look at the post, they check the comments. And just because you were there fast, if they think like, oh my God, you showed this guy, it doesn't matter if you have a follower, that comment is going to get a lot of exposure. And this is how you could make a lot of difference without having a big following. So yeah, go on, Payman. You wanted to comment on that?
Arminjon, could you please, because I get less information regarding the protests in Sweden. Normally, they happen in Stockholm, but in Malmo or smaller city like Lund, actually we don't get those enough information that when it's gonna happen and where it is and this kind of things. And I really appreciate that if you and Goldie talk about it and people they know and also give us information because you get more information so far
Mm.
more than us. So it helps a lot for us whenever something is going to happen in, for example, Malmo.
Well, even if it's not happening in your city, you could move to, like, you could join the protests in the bigger cities so that they get bigger as well,
Exactly.
right? Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Actually,
All
it
right.
happened because where I live, they are extremist, and they are extremist Muslim,
Okay.
and it's the worst place in Europe. Actually, in Europe, in my
All right.
opinion, because I used to
Okay.
live
All right.
in.
So payment. Let
Sorry,
me make this last point, and then I'm gonna, because we're running out of time, and I saw two more people raise their
absolutely.
hands. So, but no, that's okay. But like, if your city is small and doesn't have any protests in favor of freeing Iran, one thing you could do is to try to find the Iranians inside your city and make them aware of the protests in the bigger city, and try to organize a trip, all of you together with each other, to that protest in that bigger city. So that's another thing you could be doing.
Actually, Armin,
Last point.
I live in a big city in Malmo, in Sweden.
Oh, okay.
But just let us know
Hey,
where it's gonna happen.
every time we do that on the show with Goldie, we advertise all of them all of the time. Thank you, Payman. So I saw two more people raise their hand.
So I only caught Johan. I didn't catch if there was one before that.
I
We've got 20 minutes left and about five others to go. So it's likely that we wouldn't get to either of those two hands, though
I,
we
s-
will try.
I saw Ali before. Ali
Okay.
Far Ali. What is that? Farbakhsh.
So I already have Ali on the list. He
Oh,
is
okay.
third from next. So that works out. Before we move on to Arian, I just wanted to comment on your saying, our top five friends. It really is true. I've been spending way too much time talking to Nare. And when a woman cut me off in line today, I yelled, Pedar Bakere. And so, yeah, it really does happen.
Okay. You make these meetings a lot more fun. You do. And also Susie, whenever she opens, you and Susie, hi Susie. You guys make our gatherings a lot more fun. Thank you guys. All right. So who's next?
Arian?
Hello there. Can you all hear
Arian.
me?
Yes.
Fantastic. So, hi, everybody. Hi, Armin. My question actually pertains to the political influence of diasporic Iranians following the prospective fall of the regime. So, in the event that this regime does fall, and we all hope it does, and we go through a transitional phase in Iran, I would like to know your perspective regarding how you think Iranians in Iran will take to the notion of diasporic Iranians trying to get a foothold and gain influence in the country's politics, particularly if some of them are at odds with the political sensibilities and proclivities of Iranians who are already living in Iran. So, for example, the idea that we tend to have more visible leftists among the diaspora's anti regime opposition compared to our compatriots back home. And I wonder this, particularly given that those in Iran would have also directly endured living under the repressions of the Islamic regime up to that point. And of course, that also extends to those who had lived through the current revolution and will have survived it, whilst many of their friends and family members hadn't. So, how will they feel about some ideological unaligned diasporic Iranians trying to influence or infiltrate the direction of the country?
Well, I mean, I don't know where you're getting the idea that Iranian diaspora is like more left leaning, because we have been constantly accused of the
No, I'm not
opposite.
saying, but what I'm saying is there's certainly some more fragmentation among diasporic Iranians compared to Iranians in Iran.
How,
There's no
how so?
question. Well, there's no question that according to, I mean, both the Gaman reports that we've had until now suggest that there's certainly a plurality in support of Reza Pahlavi. And in more recent weeks and months, we've seen information and data coming out that the majority of Iranians seem to support Reza Pahlavi, whether it's for just for the transition or maybe further on for the monarchy as well. But nevertheless, there is still some small factions of the opposition that are left leaning. And I would say that there's probably far more left leaning individuals in the diaspora, visibly so, than in Iran itself, who seem to be more aligned to the idea of gravitating to Reza Pahlavi as their leader. So I'm just wondering whether this misalignment could cause problems in the future.
What I'm saying is a level of unity that we have never before between Iranians inside of Iran and outside of Iran. So it's interesting because the poll that you're referring to suggested that the Iranians outside of Iran were more pro Pahlavi than Iranians
They
inside
are.
Iran. And
Oh,
yeah, but now, but
right. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, go on. You go on.
Yeah, sorry, I do apologize. No, the polls did suggest that the Iranian diaspora
So,
more generally certainly supported Reza Pahlavi in terms of the plurality. With regards to
okay.
methodological soundness, it's not so clear with regards to whether we can
Yep.
actually acquire accurate information from Iran. However, what we now begin to see from anecdotal information and video footage and data coming out of
Right.
Iran is that we're seeing a lot more alignment towards Reza Pahlavi in Iran based upon the
Yep.
extrapolation of this information. And we're seeing, although the vast majority seem to be in favor of Reza Pahlavi in the diaspora, there is still a lot more fragmentation in the diaspora than there is in Iran
I don't think
itself.
I don't know if that's true. First of all, let me actually clarify something. The Gammon poll is conducted by an anti-Pahlavi person. I don't know if you knew that.
That was,
I don't know if
if
that.
I'm not mistaken, they were two
Okay.
academics from the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
anti-Pahlavi. They're pro-Mossadegh, anti-Pahlavi.
I
Okay,
didn't
the
know
main
that.
leader. The
Okay.
main. Okay, so that's an information I need to like. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but you should keep that in mind, right?
Mhm.
Given that if we want to use that poll, which I think is even if we wanted to trust that, that poll is very outdated. Yeah. But even if we wanted to go by that, the idea that the fact the Iranians outside of Iran are even more pro Pahlavi suggests that the leftist problem should then therefore be less outside of Iran or like anti any anti Pahlavi mindset outside of Iran should be even less of an issue, right? If we wanted to
Mhm.
go based on that. But I do think like the idea, like if you think that we have this problem outside of Iran, it's not because that they're a big deal. It's because they have managed to get connected with the progressives inside American politics, right? So they just seem louder because they're more well connected and they have
Mhm.
more access to US media, and that's why they seem a lot more significant because they're pro Pahlavi Iranians. There is nothing inside American politics that they have managed to have connect to, right? So the MEK, for example, has managed to connect to some Republicans, right? Very effectively with the money that they have. And the Iranian leftists and Marxists and woke people, they have managed to get connected to a lot of American progressive Democrats and progressive think tanks and exert a lot more influence than their percentages would suggest. Numbers wise, I don't think they're a big deal. I mean, look at our rallies, for example, right? I mean, I just
Yeah.
recently saw a rally made by some of these leftists to come out and try to show that there is a non Pahlavi version of Iranian diaspora that wants to protest for the freedom of Iran. The crowd was embarrassing, like if you actually look at their numbers, because they wanted to show
So
that it's not just right. So, in numbers wise, they're not that big of a deal. In fact, I think we might have less of a problem. I mean, inside Iran, we might have even more of them percentage wise, even though they're still small compared to outside of Iran. But what we're seeing right now is such a high level of solidarity right now, like more than ever, even more than the Mahsa revolution, right? During the Mahsa revolution, we were not experiencing this level of solidarity that we're experiencing right now. It seems like, I'm not saying it's 100% and it's perfect. I'm pretty like during the times of crisis, the solidarity increases usually, right? But this level of solidarity is even higher than what we experienced during the Mahsa revolution. And also, if there's any form of division and disagreement, is eventually, because usually when the times of crisis goes away and things stabilize, then you're going to notice differences usually, right? But I think that's a normal part of, like, once we become a functioning democracy, we should welcome that. Like, that's a good problem to have. We don't all want to think alike. We're going to be a democracy where people have some disagreements, right? We want to be able to have competition among us, right? So I don't see this as a problem. Like, if that eventually happens, I mean, we do want, as much as anti woke and anti commie I'm pro left leaning liberals, like centrist liberal leftists. That's a good thing. I'm just against woke people and communism. I want Iran to have leftist parties, right? Like, what, like, that would be insane for us to have like in Iran with a parliament that every single party is right leaning. Like, how is that going to work out? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, we should have some competition, some leftist competition, right? I mean, we don't want to create an echo chamber, right? I mean, I want us to, even if we have some crazy, like, two left leaning parties, like, that's fine. We could deal with that. Like, I don't want them to succeed, but it's a good challenge to have to deal with. Like, we don't want to basically crush them to oblivion. We don't want to become a tyranny as if this is the right way to think and everybody should be, that sounds too dictatorial. You all, like, having some sort of diversity, even if it gets to the point where some people are what I would call loonies. What kind of a country would we be if not a single one of our politicians is a loony? That seems unnatural. Like, that seems like it's being engineered from the top down. Naturally, we're going to have some people with getting into politics with some crazy views, just like any other democracy, right?
Sure. Do you think there could also be potentially a culture clash between Iranians currently living in Iran and potentially returning diasporic Iranians, bringing back, new cultural norms and mannerisms to the homeland? How may that
Right.
influence the sociocultural landscape of the country as
So,
well?
so I think that the Iranians inside Iran are not going to be introduced into anything new from Iranians outside of Iran, because the Iranians inside Iran are very aware of the international community and the content and the politics. Like, it's not like they have been out of touch with each other, right? I mean, they're on social media. They're interested in American games, American movies, news. They're in touch with their families outside of Iran. It's not like North Korea. It's not like they have been living in a bubble, right? So Iranians inside Iran, it's not like, oh my God, you Iranians outside of Iran have this? Like, I didn't know that. Like, they're completely aware of the world outside of Iran, right? So it's not like they consume international, like, there are teenage girls in Iran that are obsessed with K-pop, right? Just like teenagers in America, right? So it's not like they have been completely unexposed to things outside of Iran, right?
I'd
There are
agree.
teenage
Yeah.
girls in Iran that speak Korean better than they speak English because of their obsession with everything Korean, right? They're like, we have that as well, right? So we're internationally connected. What I think though is the Iranian diaspora is a strength, So, like, some people are like, oh, we hope so many Iranian, like, after the revolution, so many Iranians come back to Iran. And I was thinking, well, I hope some of them come back to Iran, but not all of them. Like, I think this is the strength of the Iranian diaspora and the connections that Iranian inside Iran and Iranians outside of Iran have with each other is going to keep Iran connected to the world. This is a great opportunity for us, right? So there are so many Iranians, for example, in the United States that might not go move back to Iran. They might visit Iran. They might want to invest in Iran while continuing to live inside America, and they might act as bridges between industries in United States and Iran. Iranians in Australia are going to be acting as bridges between industries in Australia and Iran. Iranians in Europe and UK, they're going to be acting as bridges between Iranians outside of Iran and Iran. So I think the Iranian diaspora is going to be a major strength of Iran, is going to be a lot of Iranians who might not have the connections to a lot of the industries and networks of non-Iranian companies and organizations and trade networks. They're going to be able to contact Iranians outside of Iran to be able to tap into that as soon as Iran becomes free. So I think this is an asset that we have. It's not going to be a
Yep.
liability. Yeah.
Okay,
Fantastic.
sorry, we
Yeah,
have
sorry.
to move
Yeah, no
on.
worries.
We've got 5 minutes and still multiple people. Sorry, guys. Okay, next we have Hunter.
Good questions, Ariane, by the way. Hunter? Hunter 1? Hunter 2? Next. Oh, my mic is he's saying my mic is broken. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Hunter.
Okay, go ahead and type into the chat what your question is, and I can read it for you. Next, we will, let's say the US is, please stop typing in the chat so it doesn't move.
Wait, BT, are you driving and reading his question?
No, I have it. I
Armin!
have it.
Okay, go.
Oh.
Thank you.
Let's say the US is commencing the strike. Do you think that China will use this time to strike Taiwan and exacerbate the economy and stability of the world since the US is being deflected with Iran?
So okay, Jeffrey could quickly answer this, but my impression is that the United States is less concerned in the short term right now, given that China just got rid of their main military commanders. But the question is, because the United States has moved a lot of its military assets out of the Pacific and to around Iran right now, a lot of people were saying, like, isn't this the best time for China to just go invade Taiwan? I think that United States is feeling a little bit reassured that this is not the time for China to do this, because the level of corruption. So China just came out in January, and because of the level of corruption inside their military, they had to do get rid of they arrested, and I think they might execute actually a couple of their military commanders. And there's a whole, like, it's chaotic there right now, and a lot of people are looking at it, and analysts are shocked, and a lot of people think like, oh my god, the Chinese army is not ready for war at all. Like, they have to do a complete, like, the level of corruptions that they have discovered, and some of their highest ranking military officials are now being removed, and this is not something that you could recover from very easily, and it's going to take some time. And it has convinced some people that Chinese military is even more of the paper tiger than they assumed, given that this level of corruption. So it's going to take time for China to get to a position where they can actually have a military that is capable to, basically take over Taiwan, or basically confront the United States in a meaningful way. So that's why I think the United States were like, okay, let's move all of these assets to Iran, because they seem to be needed here more, and not around Japan and Taiwan for now. But Jeffrey, quickly, what do you think? Is this somewhat accurate or no?
So you're not wrong about the civil war going on within the Chinese Communist Party, and yes, that's almost assuredly going to have some impact on the Chinese Communist Party's ability to project force, either outside of China, much less abroad. That's true. That said, the Chinese Communist Party, along with Putin and all the other members of the autocratic bloc, are indeed coordinating their efforts between each other to see, because the United States can't be everywhere all at once, right? So it's true. So the Chi-Coms are like, yeah, let's sit there and assist the Mullah regime, build out the target set, and bleed the United States out of interceptor missiles and long-range strike munitions and the rest of it, and that gives them a free shot on Taiwan. So that's true. They are coordinating that. Will they probably do it? Yeah, maybe. The simple fact is we cannot afford to not take out the Mullah regime, because we're already in the beginning stages of a high-intensity world war no matter what. It is very much in the United States' interest to take the Mullah regime off the board. They have to go.
All right. Okay, guys, quickly. Ali, are you available? So we have Ali, Dahlia.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, thank you. I just want to ask my question very quickly. I know your time is limited. In regards to what you brought up earlier in the conversation, I want to say at the beginning, with the scenario of the US be able to buy their time to negotiate a way that, let's say it does fall, the regime falls, right? Without the US having to fire a missile or drop a bomb. Let's say that happens. Pahlavi and the transition government comes in, and you touched on how Iran would play a part in fighting the war on terror. Do you think, based on where the US is set up strategically, both in south of the Persian Gulf, as well as any aircraft carrier or any additional naval assets they bring in through the Mediterranean, do you think this is the best strategic event to actually fight the war on terror? And what I mean by that is containing these terrorist groups, because even though you get rid of the regime and that's their main funder, they're still going to be around. You're still going to have to deal with them. Do you think this is the best case scenario, more so than we've ever seen before, to take them on?
Yeah, I mean, let me know if this answers your question. I mean, if you get rid of the Islamic Republic, that's a major blow to terrorism everywhere. I mean, you're not going to eliminate it, but who funds terrorism more than the Islamic Republic? Who trains them? Who gives them their ammunition more than the Islamic Republic? Right? So the single greatest hit against terrorism worldwide would be to take out the Islamic Republic. And in fact, if you bring Pahlavi back into power, you not only have stopped a major sponsor of terrorism worldwide, you now have a government that is using the same oil and gas money to fight terrorism everywhere in the Middle East. So that is the single best way to reduce terrorism globally. There's nothing else that can even compete with it. Does that answer your question, Ellie?
My main question was really more about the military standpoint, because I do expect that, though there's a possibility, as you mentioned, that we beat the regime without having to drop a bomb on Iran. Well, that'd be great if that happens.
I say that's possible. I say that like I was imagining the most ideal situation that is so ideal that is unlikely. You know what I mean?
I
So I
see what
was
you mean. And
basically
I apologize if I misquoted you. I'm sorry. My main thing was, let's say that happens in that scenario. The military assets that we have, are we much better at a strategic standpoint to fight? And even, let's say, if we had to use military assets against those groups after the fact.
Oh, so here's the thing. Just because you're not shooting a missile, that doesn't mean your military assets there are not doing anything, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Sometimes you need your military assets present to be able to not shoot a missile, right?
Hmm.
So sometimes sometimes if you walk into a room and you have a gun, having a gun is going to make a difference even if you don't shoot anybody. Like people are going to behave differently knowing that you have a gun. Not using the military assets there doesn't mean that they're doing nothing just because you're not shooting anything. For example, in that ideal, unlikely situation, what you're doing by having your military assets present there is that you have it, like, say, ideally, very unlikely, but the Islamic Republic agrees to give up their, like, reduce the range of their missiles with, like, it's actually enforced to 300 kilometers. And the United States sits back and, like, okay, Israel, you go do what you need to do, but we have an agreement with the Islamic Republic, so we're not going to fight them. You do have what you have to do. They can't reach Tel Aviv, they can't reach any of your cities. So you have basically, it's like walking in the park right now to take out the Islamic Republic. But then the United States will be present there just to make sure that the last remaining deterrence capability of the Islamic Republic is also, because with those low range missiles, you could still threaten the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. So United States will be like, we're not getting involved unless you want to fuck around with these countries. Then we are getting involved. So by being there, then the Islamic Republic is going to focus its fight on Israel and not bombing these countries, because that would basically open the door for United States to get involved. Having those present there will make them think twice before getting these other countries involved.